started here in just a few moments. I'm going to give everybody just a few minutes to get on. While we're waiting for everybody to get on, I want to go over some things. First of all, thanks for being on the webinar tonight, the Foreclosures Daily presentation webinar with Tiffany and Josh High. They're going to be great speakers tonight, guys. Tiffany and Josh High are rehabber/wholesalers, and they're going to teach you guys how to scale your business to the next level. They were out of Columbus, Ohio. They're going to go ahead and turn off their video temporarily, and then they're going to come back on around 6:10. I want to go over some rules, guys, before I introduce them. There's a couple things I want to talk about. You have a little Q&A toolbar up here. If you go on your Zoom, it's either at the top of your screen or the bottom of your screen. You'll see Q&A. If you just click on that and say yes if you can hear me, let's go ahead and get a yes if you can hear me talking. We're going to do a quick sound check. Type the word yes if you can hear me. Oh, thanks, guys. I see it. Thanks, Lacey, Colleen, Thomas. All right, appreciate it. I got the sound check. Everybody can hear me. That's good. All right, so during the webinar, I want you to go ahead and send in questions the whole time Tiffany and Josh are speaking. It's not going to interrupt them. I'm actually going to be going over the questions, and we'll open it up in the end to Q&A. They're going to try to cram 2 hours worth of training in an hour and a half. So it's going to be very difficult for them to do that. So they may be going very quickly. But I'm sure that they have something good planned for you guys in the end. So stay till the very end of the webinar to hear everything they have to say, because I'm sure that they're going to be cutting short and having to direct you guys somewhere else to view some more if you want to learn more. And I'm sure after hearing Tiffany and Josh speak that you will want to know more, I can assure you. So hit the Q&A during the presentation. Please go ahead. Feel free to send in questions during the whole entire presentation. Tiffany and Josh will answer as many as they possibly can during the end of the webinar. It's a slideshow presentation that I'm going to be going over for the next 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'm going to turn the screen over to them guys to take it from there. And then we will open it up the last 15 minutes or so to Q&A or whenever Tiffany and Josh are ready. So thanks for being on the Foreclosures Daily presentation tonight, guys. We're going to be giving bonuses out too in the end. The owner's actually giving away a free county for anybody who signs up for Foreclosures Daily between now and then. For being on this webinar tonight, you're going to get a free county at the discounted rate. And usually we don't do that. Anytime we do BOGOs, we typically do them on the list price. And this is actually going to be on the discounted rate. We do give you a lot of bonuses and stuff like marketing letters and phone scripts and so on and so forth, and some deeply discounted mail rates for signing up for our services and a lot of coaching to help you out. But nowhere's near what Tiffany and Josh are going to be able to do for you. So let's talk about Foreclosure Daily for just a moment. I'm Tangi Cousins. I've been with Foreclosures Daily since 2004. And since then, I've helped many investors, realtors, and attorneys grow their business and help increase their revenues. This is my email. It's Tangi@ForeclosuresDaily.com. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to message me or your representative that you're currently working with. That's Tangi@ForeclosuresDaily.com. I teach the do's and don'ts of marketing, what to say, what not to say. And if you do go to Foreclosures Daily's YouTube, you can find the Innovative Investors webinar to hear my training. Foreclosure Daily has been in business since 2004. And since then, we've been the nationwide lead provider. We provide leads to investors, realtors, attorneys, and just your basic first-time home buyer. Here's how we're different. All of our leads are weekly and fresh and have real estate attached. It's really important that you understand that, guys. Having information that's weekly and fresh and farm for real estate is extremely crucial to your business. Let's say 300 people will file probate in 1 week and maybe only 15 will have property. We're going to give you the 15 that have property. Other companies are going to be quarterly, and they're only going to give you they're going to give you all 300 that don't own real estate and maybe only 15 that have property, but you won't know which is which. So that's a really big problem, especially when you're skip tracing costs and your mailing costs and you're taking time to call 300 people when you really only needed to contact 15. So having real estate attached and weekly or daily or fresh data is very important to your business. Most of our data comes with property appraisers information attached, like bedrooms, baths, type of property, just your basic information about the house, enough information to be able to reach out to the actual person that's going through the situation. So we do understand the importance of having weekly fresh data farmed for real estate, guys, and that's what makes us different. Now, some of the leads that we provide are things like probate, pre-probate, inheritance, code violation, eviction, divorce. We even do customized leads like absentee owners, high equity. We even have a cash buyers list. But guys, probates and pre-probates by far are honestly some of the best leads you'll ever get. They have a lot of equity. They typically don't mind taking a discount, and they're extremely motivated to sell their property. People tend to be 50 and 60 or so when they lose their parents. They're usually not children. That being said, they're usually established in their own life. They have their own house. They typically want to sell the property, and they don't mind taking deeply discounted rates. So a lot of times you end up getting these for wholesale prices that you can make a comfortable purchase with, because they don't have any skin in the game. They didn't buy that property. So it usually becomes a really good deal for you where you can make a good spread. I can't tell you how many investors make anywhere from $30,000 to $100,000 on each of their wholesale properties with just probates alone. And those aren't even rehabs, guys. Those are just pocket money for them flipping it to another investor. So it happens every day, all day. So that's kind of how we do things here. Is our leads are weekly and fresh. They're all farm for real estate, but probate, pre-probate, inheritance, code violation, eviction, divorce are like the 6 hottest out of all the 25 different types that we offer. Okay. Now here's some of the things that we do for you. We give you a lot of bonuses. Here's some of the postcards that we recommend. This is really awesome, guys. The postcard with a picture of the house gets about a 0.5 to 1.5% response rate on national average on the postcards. But this one with a picture of the house is getting 3, 5, 10, and 15% response rates with our probate list. A lot of people are using these postcards, and we got a company to do this for you for 42 cents with postage. What they'll do is they'll take the list that you give them from Foreclosures Daily, you email it to them, and they find it on Google Earth, and they do a street view of the property, and they send out this postcard. Picture putting something like, hey, is this your house? Are you selling this? ? People are like, hey, yeah, this is my house. I have it now. I'm selling it. So, it's a great postcard, give you a great response rate. We also do, the company we recommend also does handwritten letters. And we got them to do this handwritten letter using handwritten font for like 64 cents with postage. So you get a lot of bonuses when you purchase Foreclosures Daily leads. You get a 6-step mailing campaign, a 6-touch campaign, phone scripts on how to negotiate with the seller on the phone scripts on how to speak to the attorney, phone scripts on how to speak to the decedent, an email to send to the attorneys expressing interest in the property, postcards, letters. Guys, we even mail a probate book to your property called Probate Real Estate Sales 101. We also will share a webinar replay with you of the author of that book as well. So there's a lot of different things we give you. We give you a discounted, a link to a discounted house that does mail skip tracing for you. And we'll yield you like up to 10 phone numbers and 5 emails for like 15 cents. And what's really good about the skip tracing company is they'll also give you the surrounding family members' phone numbers for free on top of that 15 cents. So that's really good. We also give you a special link to receive reduced mail house services, like 38 to 42 cents with postage. So, and these are prices. I know a lot of people are going to want to know our prices. We reduced some rates for you for the webinar. So anybody that signs up between now and Friday, and guys, on these prices, you can't get all these services for this one price here, okay? It's probate or pre-probate or inheritance or code violation or eviction or divorce for $5.99 for 3 months. But Tiffany's discount is way better on the 6-month, guys. If you get the discount for 6 months, you can get 6 months for only $999, and it saves you $200. We want you to try and make longer commitments. Honestly, the people that make the longer commitments tend to do much more successful in the long run because they're working a little longer, stronger, harder. It slows you down. It produces success. And you don't make mistakes because you're not rushing, because everybody's in a rush to get a deal, which is why we made the yearly subscription 35% off at only $1,750, which is a $650 savings. So we've done some discounts here for you. My information's on the bottom. Tangi Cousins, my phone number's down there, my cell number, you can call or text, and my email. So just go ahead and take a screenshot of this because I'm going to be turning this over to Tiffany and Josh in just a moment, and it'll be on their slides. So go ahead, take a screenshot of this. Let's talk about Tiffany and Josh before they come on. Tiffany and Josh, I've known for years. They're rehabbers and wholesalers out of the Columbus, Ohio area, and they're going to teach you guys how to scale your business to the next level. They opened Heels Homes in 2017, and they've done an unbelievable amount of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of wholesale and rehab deals. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Tiffany and Josh High to you tonight, guys. Hey.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, it's going great. I'm going to stop my share and let you guys share your screen here. But thanks so much for taking the time to be on this call and rescheduling your dinner and everything you had planned. I really appreciate
no
you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for inviting us. So let me go ahead and share my screen, everyone. So we are out of Columbus, Ohio, and we started back in 2017. To just give you a short synopsis of where we've come from, took us 6 months to find our first deal. We've actually been buying lists off of Tangi since day one. In our first year, we didn't have any fancy CRMs then, no fancy marketing at that point. We bought very niche lists from Tangi and we landed 40 rehabs in our first year. We went on to further learn how to wholesale into our second year, did over 165 deals that year, mainly wholesales. And then went into our third year, did over 100 deals. We did about 60% rehabs last year, 30% wholesales. And then going into this year, hundreds of deals probably on the queue. And one of the biggest things that if I could go back to day one, I know some of you on here might be newer, some of you might be experienced. But one of the biggest things that I wish I would have learned in the beginning, when we get a lead, it's so important to be able to close every closable deal. And so many people in the industry feel like they need to get more leads to get more deals. It's really important to become a consistent and predictable company. In order to do that, you have to be able to close every opportunity that comes in the queue. So for today, we actually thought it would add tons of value if we showed you our entire sales process. So we're going to go ahead and get started on our acquisitions. And this is normally a 2-hour presentation, so we're going to knock it out. But Josh is my husband and COO of the company, and he manages our sales team. So he's the sales leader. And so I'm going to let him rock out this presentation today.
All right, cool. Thank you, Tiff. Thanks for the handoff there. Again, Tangi, thanks for having us. We're going to get right into this, and I want to make sure that we're able to deliver everything that we need to get to you guys in order for you to take all the information you need to go close more deals. So here's the agenda for what we have today. We're going to go over the goal here soon on the next slide of this entire presentation. Tiff kind of hit on this. We're going to also talk about the importance or the purpose of having a process. We're going to talk about hiring. So for those of you who might be a one-man show, we want to show you how we've effectively brought on and hired acquisitions or a sales team. We're going to talk about our process call, which is our first call with a seller. If we have time, I'm hoping we do, we'll go over our offer call script as well. We also have another position that we'll talk about called a follow-up specialist. I think, if you guys are a one-man show and you have a ton of leads, this is a position that you could hire even potentially a VA to help maximize your opportunities, at least the number of quality people you're talking to. And then we'll also talk about how we're managing our team on a daily basis. All right. So again, the whole goal with this is that we need to focus on becoming a master closer. We need to be focusing on mastering sales. In order to do this, you have to train and hold you and your team accountable on a daily basis. So another thing that we want to do is we want to be able to focus on being able to close every single closable deal that comes across our desk, right? These lists are going to create opportunities. You're going to have opportunities that come across your desk. You need to focus on being able to be the best salesperson that you can possibly be, and also train your sales team to be the best salespeople that they can possibly be. So I want to go into hiring here really quick for you guys. So the most effective hiring process that we've had is from social media. And what we do on social media is we are constantly marketing our culture. When we are signing deals, we're taking videos of this. We're posting deals that we're closing and the profits that we're getting from that. And we're really trying to build credibility for everyone here who's local to know that we are winning. We are doing big things. That way, when we go online and we say, hey, we're looking to hire someone for our sales team, if someone knows someone who's thinking about getting into real estate, they're like, oh, hey, listen, I have a friend over here who's thinking about getting into real estate, and here's a high-performing team. They make a connection, and now all of a sudden we can start that conversation. We've also used sites like Indeed and other hiring sites, search engines that you can use to upload a job description and have candidates apply to that job. Some of the things that we look for are people who have previous phone sales experience. They've been on the phone. Everything that we do is over the phone. If someone has door knocking experience, that shows that they have a good work ethic. But again, everything that we do is all virtual over the phone, and we'll go into that process here soon. The pay structure that we give, there's a whole bunch of different pay structures, but we always offer a $2,000 monthly base pay plus commission, okay? And then we have a quarterly tier structure. So this basically came from, if you see here, we have from 0 to 150,000 for that entire quarter. So that came from $50,000 closed in profit every single month for 3 months in a row. So if they are able to beat that 150, then they take that step up into that 8% tier structure until they get to 225. Then once they hit 225, then all of a sudden they go to a 10% commission tier.
So just to clarify, and on the 5th of every month, we pay out 6% for the previous month. And then at the end of the quarter, once the quarter is finished, let's say that they close 175, so they're in the 8% tier, then they make the difference of that 2% because they're in the 8% tier, and we pay the 2% back to $1 for that entire quarter. The reason we do that is because if you're also a rehabber on here, you all know that houses can, get delayed, and 1 month maybe you close like 5 deals, the next month maybe one gets pushed or delayed, and in a quarter that typically sends a really good average over it. So we pay out our tiers on a quarterly basis.
Awesome. So the other role that we talked about, I want to go over the pay structure for that before we get into the role. So we also do a $2,000 monthly base plus commission pay structure on this. So we start off at a 3% on all deals that are passed off that close. And then after someone is with the company and they close 10 deals, that then goes from 3% to 5%. I want to dive deeper into that position here later on in our presentation.
Also, we do, so some companies out there that have big teams, they create shark environments, and you'll see that salespeople will conflict. In our team, one of our biggest core values is a teamwork. So all of our quarterly team incentives, and we have a year-end bonus structure, it's for a team incentive. So that includes our transaction coordinator, which, by the way, our team, we have an operations coordinator, which for you guys might be a TC, but ours also does TC and project management. We have 3 salespeople. And by the way, we have 3 salespeople producing 800,000 right now in the queue to close. So that tells you we are masters at leading the sales process because we have high producing team. So for example, this quarter, the baseline goal was 500,000 or 450,000 minimum that they had to hit. When they hit that, they get all paid out a $500 bonus, including the operations coordinator. And our stretch goal, we made at 500,000, and if they hit that, we're taking the entire team on a trip. One thing that I want to point out in that is the stretch goal, the incentive that we give incorporates building culture into our environment. Just so you guys know, we're going to hit 500 by the end of February, so we make the goals very attainable as well. We also this year have a year-end incentive bonus for our 3 salespeople sitting in their seats today. We are hiring a 4th one. But once we hit 1.8 million in revenue, they are all getting in bonus $20,000 a piece. And it doesn't matter if one person closed 50,000 a month and the other closes 100,000 a month, they all equally get the $20,000 bonus. The reason we did this is, 1, to experience no turnover. We want people to be here at the company for the entire year, which we all know phone sales can have turnover. So that's one of the big reasons we said, hey, if you want this bonus, you got to be here when it gets sent out. The other thing is we want to incorporate team culture. So if one guy thinks that, Sonia, our main closer, can close it, pass it on, because it doesn't matter if you get 50 and she gets 100 a month. To get to that 20,000, the team as a whole has to hit 1.8.
Perfect. So now what I want to do is I want to dive deep into our process. And this is one of the most important things that we'll talk about today. So first and foremost, the purpose of having a process is, 1, it's step by step. It's very black and white. It's clear. And therefore it's teachable, right? When something is teachable, now we can bring people on and we can now scale that team. Not only that, but we're also able to hold everyone accountable. It's very clear. We have 6 steps. We'll get into that here soon. And I can go listen to a phone call and say, okay, Sonia, let's sit down. Let's listen to this phone call. Did you do number 1? Yes, you hit step 1. What about 2? Yes, you did. Step 3? No. Okay. Well, why did we not hit step 3? How can we make sure we hit step 3 next time, right? So now I'm able to hold everyone accountable. Now, if you're a one-man show, you can still do this with yourself, and I highly recommend that. If you are able to go back and listen to your calls, if you're recording them, go back and hold yourself accountable. List out these steps. Ask yourself if you checked every box every single time, okay? So here is our process right here in 6 steps, and here soon I'll go ahead and I'll pull up our script and we'll go through that. So we have 6 steps here. We have our introduction. We set expectations right away. And then we go over the motivation. Why is the seller looking to sell? We go through property condition. We go over roadblocks that could get in the way of them taking any kind of action. And then we set expectations for our next phone conversation, okay? So I want to get out of this really quick and pull up our script for you really quick, and let's dive through this, okay? So first and foremost, going into the introduction, I want to show you guys how we've tweaked this over time. So the way it goes right now is, hi, my name is Josh. How are you today? Okay, so what we used to do is we used to say, hey, this is Josh. I'm calling to see if you had any interest in selling your property. And the reason why we did that is we had a mentor who had scaled a phone sales team, and he said that in the first 3 seconds, you buy yourself the next 3 minutes. So he said in order to buy those 3 minutes in the first 3 seconds, you have to first state who you are and then right away state why you're calling. So the problem with that we've seen is that's diving right into business, okay? And we had 2 different people on our sales team. The old way was how Sonia was doing it, and we had someone else on our team who this just wasn't natural for him. What was natural was he would say, hey, this is Josh, how are you today? And for whatever reason, we started to see as we reviewed calls over and over a few weeks period of time, we saw that he was having more quality conversations than Sonia was. The only difference was this introduction. And the only thing that really makes sense is that this is a more genuine, welcoming introduction than, hey, this is Josh, here's my business, right? So this is, we went to Sonia and asked her if she would test this, give this a shot, give this, 4 days, give us some feedback and see if you like it. And if you love it, great, we'll keep it. If you hate it, we'll go back to what we've been doing. And the first day that we tried this, she came to me and said, I absolutely love this. I've already had twice as many quality conversations just in the first couple of hours than I've been having day after day. So this is the introduction that we've adopted since then, okay? So again, hi, this is Josh. How are you today? They'll say, good, how are you? Okay, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. I'm actually calling because I saw my partner had reached out to you about your property, and I wanted to follow up and see if you had any interest in selling that now or in the near future. Okay, now the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get into setting expectations. So one thing I wanna point out really quick before we dive into this is that we all are conditioned to react subconsciously to salespeople. And the best way that I can describe this, I don't know if any of you guys have walked into a Best Buy or maybe even a clothing store here recently, but typically if you're walking into Best Buy, you're probably going there to pick up a computer, a TV, or something. You know exactly what you're going there for. And what happens when someone comes up to you and says, hey, how can I help you? We all have this auto response of, I'm just looking, thank you, right? Well, why do we do that? The reason why we do that is because we don't want to be bugged, right? We don't want to be pressured or have a conversation with a salesperson. The whole reason for this is because we have a subconscious fear of pressure and anxiety that salespeople give us, right? It's no different than when you're walking into a clothing store. It's the same thing. Someone comes up, hey, how can I help you? Hey, I'm just looking. Even though you know exactly what you want, you still tell them, I'm just looking, thank you. So what we want to do is we want to address that fear, that pressure, that anxiety that people subconsciously have towards salespeople. And the way we do that is by setting expectations. And the way we set expectations is we tell everyone every single time, we tell them exactly how long our conversation is going to take. We're going to tell them exactly what we're going to talk about in our conversation. And we're going to tell them the exact result of our conversation. Okay. So this is what it sounds like for us. Great. So do you have about 5 or 10 minutes that I can ask some more specific questions about the property, like the age of the roof, age of the furnace, things like that? Yeah, I think I do. Okay, great. So After that, I'm going to take this information over to our partners and they'll let me know what the property qualifies for. All I ask from you is that you're able to make a confident yes or no decision. If it's something you'd like to move forward with, great. If not, no big deal. At least we gave this our best shot and you know exactly what your options look like. So let's break that down really quick. How long is our conversation going to take? I just told them it's going to take 5 to 10 minutes, right? And what exactly are we going to talk about in this phone call? We're going to talk about the condition of the property, like the age of the roof, age of the furnace, things like that, okay? And then after that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go talk to our financial partners and they're going to let me know what your property qualifies for. One thing I want to point out is that word qualification. We're going to reference that word several times in our process. And I want to point out to you guys why we use that word instead of an offer, okay? We want to take the positive energy that comes from, the best example I can give you is when someone goes to a bank and they're trying to find out how much they can pay for a property, right? They're going to go buy a new house and the bank comes back and says, hey, congratulations, you qualify for $300,000. So there's a couple of things. One, it's positive, right? Two, it doesn't sound like it's negotiable, right? It's very calculated and you qualified for this price and there's no going back to the bank and saying, you know, Mr. Banker, I appreciate that, but you know, I was really hoping for 500,000. Can we get it up? No, you can't do that, right? So it's very calculated and it's positive news. That's what we want to bring to the table when we're making our offers. And that's why we use the word qualification, okay? So then the result of our conversation, again, after I let you know what the property does qualify for, all I'm asking from you is that you're able to make a yes or no, right? And I even go above and beyond and tell them, if you decide you don't want to work with us, that's perfectly fine. The key here is salespeople don't do that. Tell me one car salesman that says, hey, if you don't want to buy a car from me today, that's perfectly fine. No, a car salesman is saying, how can I get you in this car today? How can we put together a deal today? The reality is when someone pushes us and pressures us like that, we typically go the opposite direction and decide not to work with them. So we want to remove that pressure. We want to remove that fear that people have of salespeople in general. And this is how we do that. The next piece that we go into is really a qualifying piece. We want to find out, is there any urgency behind the seller's motivation to sell right now? Okay. And the way that we do that is just like this. Well, Mr. Seller, I'm glad I was able to get a hold of you today. We had a property close in your area and we have some funds available to buy another one. So hopefully your house is a good fit for us. With that being said, if we look into your property and come to an agreement on a fair price for it, you are definitely ready to sell, right? So at this point, we're able to identify if they're ready to go today or not. If for whatever reason, they're not ready to make a decision today, we are not spending our time on someone who's not ready to make a yes or no decision today. And the reason for that is because there's someone else that we can go talk to who's ready to make a decision. You also have to recognize that our only leverage is our offer, our price. The only reason why these people are talking to us is because they want to know exactly how much we can give them for their house. Once we give up that number, they have no other reason to talk to us. So if they're not ready to make that decision today, don't give them that number, okay? So the next step here is really going to be going over the motivation, okay? So here's how we ask this question. If you did decide to sell to us or anyone else, why would you? This is very different than me just coming out and saying, why do you want to sell? We have to recognize that coming straight forward with a why can be seen as offensive, okay? So we want to take a softer approach, and that's why we frame it this way. If you did decide to sell to us or anyone else, why would you? Again, another thing I want to point out is I'm not even saying that you're going to sell your property, right? I'm saying if you did, for whatever reason, decide to sell, and I'm not saying to me, but anyone else for that matter, why would you? Why would you even consider it, right? And no matter what they say, we can dive deeper into what that really means to them. So here's an example. A common motivation that we'll hear from sellers is that they want to downsize, okay? Awesome. Downsize, great motivation, right? Well, but what really does that mean? Someone wants to downsize for a deeper reason. And I want to utilize these Socratic questions to dive deeper into that. So I want to ask them, okay, so when you say downsize, what do you mean, right? I want to ask them, how long have you been thinking about selling your property, right? How long have you been dealing with some of the things that are coming up? So let's go through a little bit of a role play here. So if someone says downsize, I'll say, okay, so when you say downsize, what do you mean? They might say, Well, I need a smaller place. Okay. Well, what's so important for you to have a smaller place? Well, we can't really get around, it's hard to walk and things like that. Okay, boom, there we go. Now I know and I've identified that the property is affecting them in a physical way, right? And this is really what we want to identify. See these motivation categories here in our script? We want to identify, is the property affecting them financially, emotionally, physically, mentally? Is it affecting how they spend their time? Is it affecting a relationship that they have with someone else? Is it holding them back from reaching any goals? Or are they just looking to sell because they're looking for some sort of extreme pleasure? Like, hey, I'm going to make a ton of money on this, so let's go ahead and sell it, right? Or maybe there's no motivation, and that's fine. If someone is not motivated and you don't think that you're going to be a good fit, draw the line right here. Tell them you're not going to be the best fit. Move on to the next seller. Exit the phone call and get on the phone with someone else who is willing and able to work with you, right? So the next thing is the property condition. So what we do is we have a CRM now where all of these questions are detailed out in our CRM. We use Podio. We have a custom built Podio for our CRM to stay on top of our leads and our tasks on a daily basis. But I want to go through some of the questions that we're asking. We're diving very deep into how old the roof is. We want to know how old the furnace is, the air conditioning, the hot water tank. We want to know what kind of windows they have. I want to know what kind of cabinets they have. I want to know what kind of countertops they have. Tell me about the flooring in the kitchen. Tell me about the flooring in the bathroom. Tell me about the shower surround. I want to go so in depth that I could almost paint a picture in my head of exactly what this house looks like, right? Again, remember, we're doing all of this over the phone. So we have to collect as much information as we can about the property in order to make them a legitimate cash offer over the phone to get this signed over the phone before we ever step foot in the property. So the next step here is going to be roadblocks, okay? And roadblocks are really things that can get in the way of them taking any kind of action to sign an agreement. So what we've identified is influencers, timeline, discomfort, and money are the 4 most common roadblocks that we see in our industry. And the questions that we use to overcome them, or at least uncover them, and then help us overcome them are as follows. So for influencers, again, I want to point out, this is not a decision maker. An influencer is totally different than a decision maker. There might be someone on title, right? Mr. Seller, Bob, let's just say Bob, but Bob's mom might have some input on whether he sells this house or not, right? Even though she's not the one who has to sign, she could still influence his decision. We have to uncover this and find out why she would say sell, or why she would recommend selling, or why she wouldn't. So the way that we would uncover this is by asking this question. Hey, Bob, would anyone be upset you didn't at least run all of this by them before making the decision? And at that point, we're able to, if he says my mom, my wife, or whatever it might be, boom, great. Now we can start asking questions about their motivation in selling, why they would recommend they sell, why they might recommend they not sell, right? So after that, we're going to go into the timeline piece. And one thing that we say to everyone is, one thing people love about working with us is that we're flexible with our closing timeline. Everyone's situation is different. Typically, we close in 21 to 24 days, and some people love that, but others need more time. What kind of timeline would work best for you and your family? Now, let me break this down for you guys here really quick, okay? I'm using a social proof, which is an NLP tactic, to tell them that this process typically takes 3 to 4 weeks. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm trying to influence them into a quicker closing, right? But one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to lose an opportunity because someone needs 2 months to find a place, or maybe they need 3 months to find a place, right? We need to be able to provide solutions for these people. But if they can legitimately be out in 30 days, then let's make this happen, right? We want these deals to close as soon as possible. So that's why we frame it in that specific way. So the next question is around discomfort, okay? And the question that we use for that is, let's assume you like our offer, you decide to move forward. What is the next thing you will have to figure out, if anything, if any, right? So this is typically going to be around something with moving furniture from point A to point B, or if they even have a place to go to next, right? This is something that could get in the way of someone signing an agreement today. I don't know how many times you guys have heard an objection, but this is one that we get a lot. Hey, Josh, I'd love to work with you guys. I just don't know where I'm going to go yet, right? hey, not a problem. You're going to have plenty of time to move on your timeline, and we can also help you find a place, okay? We have to uncover these things in order to provide a solution for them, right? So the next thing here is the money piece, right? We are big believers in getting an asking price from someone before we ever make an offer. And the way that we uncover this is based upon everything you told me, Mr. Seller. You know, the roof is 20 years old, the furnace is 15 years old. You said that you have these tenants in the property that are beating it up, and you're ready to get rid of this thing as soon as possible. What do you feel is a fair price for the property? And I want to point out that I'm utilizing emotion here and not logic. And what I mean by that is I'm asking them what they feel is a fair price, not what they think is a fair price. If I use the word think, people are going to draw from logic, and logic is going to take them to the house next door or across the street that sold for X amount of dollars. But when I am telling them how I'm going to help solve their problem or situation, whatever they're in, and I ask them what they feel is a fair price, now all of a sudden I could be getting a better price from them because I'm helping solve that specific situation for them. Okay? Now, again, we're setting expectations. This is before we exit the call. We're setting expectations before we hop on our next call. And the way that this sounds is, okay, Mr. Seller, I believe I have all the information I need right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take about 20 to 30 minutes to talk to our financial partners to see what the property qualifies for. Then I'll give you a call back. When I do, it typically takes about 5 minutes to let you know what it looks like to work with us and let you know what the property qualifies for. Again, all I ask from you is that you're able to make a confident yes or no decision, and no is perfectly okay. With that being said, do you have any other questions for me? Remember, every time we set expectations, we are talking about how long our conversation is going to take, what exactly we're going to talk about, and we also want to know the result of that conversation. So the result of our next conversation, Mr. Seller, is just going to be a confident yes or no. And again, if you decide you don't want to work with us, that's fine. I am relieving that sales pressure that people subconsciously have. That's why I'm doing this. So what I do now, I go ahead and I try to see what 2 times might work, right? So if I'm on the phone right now, it's 6:37 p.m. here in Columbus, Ohio. I might ask, okay, great. Will you be available at 7 or 8 o'clock? Maybe they say 8. Okay, great. Mr. Seller, I want to set a specific time with them. Great. I'll give you a call at 8 o'clock and we'll go over all of this. I'll talk to you then. Boom, hop off the phone. At this point, now we're doing our due diligence. We're running comps. We're putting together a repair estimate based on all the details that we got on the property condition. And now we're going to come up with what we're able to offer them. So now that we have this information, we know what our offer is. Now we're going to go into our offer script, okay? And this is very, very simple, but I'm telling you guys, just implementing this alone increased our conversion 3x. I'm not kidding you. We went from 1 of 18 offers per contract to 1 of 6 offers per contract, just utilizing this script alone, okay? So this is how it goes. Hey, Mr. Seller, this is Josh. Do you have 5 minutes for a quick conversation? Okay, great. So I did speak with the partners. They let me know what the property qualifies for. But before we talk about that, the partners like for me to talk with you about what it looks like if you do decide to work with us. Is that okay? Awesome. Again, at the end of our conversation, all I ask for is a confident yes or no. And if you decide you do not want to work with us, that's perfectly fine too. All right, perfect. So first, obviously, I would let you know what the property qualifies for. If you decide that you would like to move forward, then I would send over our written offer to your email and we would both go through that together. It generally takes about 5 minutes. Once I get your autograph on the written offer, we would schedule a walkthrough to take photos just to confirm the condition. After that, Elena, our transaction coordinator, will put you in contact with the title company. After title clears, closing will be scheduled. Do you have any other questions for me? Perfect. So about the property. Now remember, in our script, we're going over and we're asking specifically what's the reason they're looking to sell right now, right? We're trying to uncover that motivation. Now we need to bring that back up in our presentation here. So for the example I gave earlier, remember this, Bob said he has these tenants that aren't paying him rent and they're damaging the property and it's ultimately affecting his credit. and he just needs to get this thing closed as soon as possible, right? The timeline was the roadblock for him. He's like, whoever decides to give me this money this quickest is going to win my business, right? So what I would do is I would say, hey, Bob, you told me you're dealing with these tenants. You told me that they're not paying the rent and it's ultimately affecting your credit because of the mortgage that you have on the property. And I know you said that, the most important thing to you is that you're out of this as quick as possible. Okay. So I'll tell you what, we're going to be able to do this. As long as title is clear, we can close here in the next 5 to 7 days. All right. And also, I want to make sure that and that you're aware that what I'm about to tell you is what you would walk away with in your pocket, minus your mortgage and prorated taxes, which is a state of Ohio thing. Okay. You do not have to pay any closing costs. You do not have to pay any realtor commissions, and the property will be sold as is, which means you make no repairs and you do no cleaning. You will also, again, be able to move on your timeline, which I mentioned will be anywhere between the next 5 to 7 days. Okay. With that being said, your property qualifies for $50,000. So let's break this down here. Okay. We went through the whole script here. I want to go back to the top. Now, remember, the beginning of every call, we're setting expectations. And what do we cover when we set expectations? We need to let them know exactly how long our conversation is going to take, exactly what we're going to talk about, and the result of the conversation. So right here, I'm telling them, hey, Mr. Seller, do you have 5 minutes for a quick conversation? Our conversation is going to take 5 minutes. And then I'm also going to let them know that, I'll tell you what the property qualifies for, but I'm also going to tell you what it looks like if you did decide to work with us. All right. And then at the end of the conversation, the result is a yes or no decision. That's it. And again, I'm adding that little cherry on top saying, if you decide you don't want to work with us, that's fine. You're not going to hurt my feelings. So let me dive into this next paragraph with you guys. We came up with these specifically because we saw we were getting these objections after we would make an offer. Someone would agree, we're going over the purchase agreement, and they would have certain objections. And we saw this happening over and over and over again. So we decided that we would let them know what the step-by-step looked like before we ever even tell them what the offer is. So let me explain to you guys how this went. So before, again, I told you we are signing deals over the phone. I would say about 85–90% of our deals are signed over the phone. So what we do is we tell them that we're going to send them a written offer to their email, and we're both going to go through that together on the phone, right? I'm going to email this over to you. We'll hop on the phone and go through it together. We're telling them that call typically takes 5 minutes. That way they know exactly when they'll be available to have that call. I'm also going to ask you to sign something, right? That's why I say once I get your autograph, I'm assuming they know and understand that I'm going to ask them to sign something. So once I get your autograph on the written offer, at that point in time, we will then schedule a walkthrough to take photos just to confirm the condition. The reason why we bring that up is because whenever we go and we're going through an agreement and we have an inspection contingency, people would say, yo, I thought you were buying this property as is. Why is there an inspection contingency? Hey, not a problem. Now I can reference this conversation. When I'm pointing out the inspection contingency on our agreement, I'm telling them, hey, listen, it says inspection contingency, but that's not an official inspection. That's just a walkthrough for us to take some photos and verify the condition of the property, okay? We have never had that objection ever since we started doing this. So then what I'm doing on our team after the acquisitions signs the deal, Elena, who's our transaction coordinator, she then takes over the call from there. She's the one who takes that file from contract to close. She's the one who's in contact with the seller and the title company and everyone in between. So we are starting to introduce her now right here in this step. Elena, our transaction coordinator, will put you in contact with the title company. We're bringing up a title company because we had people who would ask us, so you said you're cash buyers, you're going to bring a briefcase of cash to my house? No, that's not how this works, right? We're going to go through a title company just like any other transaction in the state of Ohio. So, and again, after title clears, we're going to make sure that they know and understand that there is some time. There's a little bit of a process behind how title works. Title's going to run a search. After title clears, closing will be scheduled. And then I open it up for any questions. I want to make sure I address any concerns that they might have at this point in time before I take the next step. Cool. So I know we talked about building our presentation right here, right? The next thing I want to point out for you guys is this little tidbit right here, okay? Notice that I'm framing everything towards you as the seller. And there's a specific reason as to why I do that. We as human beings are most receptive when we are talking about ourselves, talking about what's in it for us, okay? So we have to acknowledge that. I once had a coach that would talk about this concept. He said, don't ever talk about what you're gonna do for them, talk about what's in it for them. And what he meant was, don't say we're gonna pay closing costs. Don't say we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. He said, don't we all over yourself. Talk about what's in it for them, framed towards them. That's why I say specifically that you don't pay closing costs. You won't pay any realtor commissions. The property will be sold in as-is condition, which means you do no repairs and you make no cleaning. Again, you'll also be able to move on your timeline. With that being said, your property qualifies for $50,000. So I hope that these scripts add some value to you guys. I'm telling you, right now our team is closing one of 3 offers. We are performing at a very, very, very high level. And Tiff has created a system that is just, how many leads we create a day? About 50 leads a day?
Well, one of the most important things I don't know when you want to get to this, but it's not always about more leads, guys. One of the biggest lessons learned in our past when it came to running a sales team, real quick while we're on this, is we actually scaled. We listened to some gurus in the industry. They always throw out the word scale, 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 right? And so we listened to them, hired all these salespeople, but we weren't great leaders then, and we didn't follow a sales process very well. And we weren't doing daily training, daily huddles. Now we don't go a day without training our sales team. And I had 10 people on the sales floor producing a fourth of what my 3 people produce now. And we completely changed our mentality about a year and a half ago and really focused on sales leadership, how our team's structured, how we do meetings, our agendas, performance reviews, et cetera. It's all a big combination of things. But anyways, back to the leads. It's not always about having more leads. So back when we had that sales floor of 10 people, for those on you that have acquisitions on here, I'm not sure if you've ever had one that's like a poor performer and they always blame it on the leads, that they need more leads, more leads. More leads does not equal more revenue. Typically about 10 to 15 new leads a day per acquisitions person is pretty solid, because you want them to be focusing on giving every ounce of time to every opportunity that comes through. And if you give them too many leads, they'll just rush through the process. They also need plenty of time for follow-up.
Awesome, cool. So one thing I just want to point out here really quick, if you are wholesaling and that's your primary focus, when it comes to running numbers, just make sure you understand exactly what your buyer's criteria is and you backtrack from there. What we use is the MAO formula, MAO, which stands for maximum allowable offer. And what that is, that is this equation where it says MAO equals ARV times 0.7 minus repairs minus our assignment fee. So I want to point this out. The ARV stands for after repair value. That's what the property should appraise for after renovation. Now, most buyers want to be all in at about 70%. That's why we do the ARV times 0.7. Then we have to subtract our repairs. Now, this is why it's very important to know and understand your repair costs. And this is why it's important to understand exactly what the property condition is and why we go through such detailed questions in that section of our script. And then at that point, that's typically what a rehabber or even a landlord is going to buy that property for. Then at that point, you have to take out whatever assignment fee that you're going to make, okay? So again, just make sure you know and understand what your buyer's criteria is and you're able to backtrack from there. I just wanted to touch on that really quick.
Yeah, one thing going back to that real quick, when an acquisition person starts at our company, we don't have time to go over this today, but we train them in the onboarding process on all of how to be a good rehabber. So we're training them on all the components of a house, all the repair costs to the house. So by the time they get on the phones, they can literally estimate a rehab from a phone conversation within 5%. And they are spot on. And it's all because of the property condition and the checklist that we go through on the phone. But I see too many wholesalers out there just guessing and throwing out, a percentage of Zillow, and then they wonder why they can't get the contracts to sell. Look, guys, that impacts the market and it hurts everyone in the market. So become really good at understanding rehab cost and truly use a formula that it's at least 70% ARV minus repairs, minus your fee in order to get it wholesaled at a good price.
Perfect. So one thing I'm going to point out here really quick is the follow-up specialist position. So if you're a one-man show and you have a bunch of leads in your system and you want to find a way to maximize those leads, you can hire a VA who can then qualify these leads and pass them off to you to be closed. So the whole entire intent of this role is to bring old leads back to life and set them up for the closer. Now, one thing I want to point out is that the rapport is for the person who's going to be making the offer, okay? The follow-up specialist just needs to have a brief conversation to find out if they want to sell and what ballpark they're looking for. Pass them off to a closer who will then take them through the process. And right now, we don't have time to review this script. Tiff,
yeah, real quick, we don't have time to go over the script today, but we have follow-up specialists in the office. Everyone that comes into our company as a salesperson has to start in this role. And all follow-ups, so if someone gets an old lead onto the phone, they say they want to sell, it is transferred live on the phone system to the closer in the moment. If you're in a model where you're having someone set an appointment and someone goes and follows up on an appointment, I think you're missing out on several deals. You need to be transferring people live when they say they want to sell. So you make sure that you have a phone system in place that allows you to transfer calls live to one of your closers.
Correct. To Tiff's point, what we saw is that if we had a follow-up specialist that had a seller who was willing and able to sell today, they had them on the phone and they said, hey, listen, let me have so-and-so call you back in 10 minutes. If they hung up the phone, 70% of the time, that seller did not pick up the phone when we called them 10 minutes later. And then every single minute, hour, day after that, it's more and more unlikely that they even answer the phone again. So it's critical that you have that live transfer feature. So one thing I want to talk about how we manage our day with our sales team. So we have daily huddles, okay? And what we do is we talk about gratitude. Okay, everyone brings some positive energy to every meeting with what we're grateful for that day. Then we go over what are the metrics that we had yesterday, right? How many offers did each person have the day before? We also want to know what leads do we have in sight this week? Who do we think we can sign up this week? What's the next steps with that seller? What's holding them back from moving forward with us? Let's brainstorm as a team and figure out how we can put this together. Then every single day we have a sales training. We have 4 fundamentals that we train on. And I'm a big believer in being masters at these 4 fundamentals. We've spent about 15 months on perfecting our skills around these 4 fundamentals. And it's very similar to Bruce Lee's thought and concept in his famous quote that says, I don't fear the man who knows 10,000 kicks, that's practiced 10,000 kicks one time. I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. We're trying to take that methodology into becoming the best that we can possibly be at these 4 fundamentals because we know they work and they've worked for us for the last 15 months. So another thing that we do is we meet with each person on our team weekly to host one-on-ones. We talk about what were their metrics. We talk about where are they with their expectations on performance review, right? We also review phone calls that they've had in the previous week, and we coach up on those calls. Now, one thing to point out is with these metrics, we all have to understand that the number of calls influences the number of conversations that we have. So the more calls, the more conversations. That's pretty obvious, right? And then the more conversations we have is going to influence the number of offers that we have. So more conversations, more offers. And the more offers that we have, the more deals we're going to get, right? So let's go all the way back to the one thing that we can control is the number of calls that we make in a day, right? And we also have power hours in which we are focusing 100% on prospecting.
Wow, we just covered a lot in a very short period, so we're talking pretty fast. So I do want to put this up here real quick. I know we covered a ton of things in a very short period. This is how to follow us, and I know I get a ton of questions on some of the educational stuff that we do, but anyone that comes into our education, we have a 4-week live coaching group. It's all virtual, and it starts on the first Thursday of every month. Week 1 and 2, we cover all of our marketing and systems. So how we pull TNG's list, how we're launching it in every single marketing campaign that we have and how it flows. Week 3, we cover acquisitions, our process, scripts, and basically, you know, what Josh just went over, but in a lot more detail. And then week 4, we cover Dispo, and that's what really leads people into our 2-day workshop, because we like to cover all the foundational stuff first. So happy to chat about that with anyone that wants to reach out to us. But anyways, I don't know if Tangi, maybe anyone has some questions for us, and we can knock out some questions. I know we went over stuff really fast.
Hey guys.
Hey. Yep.
I'm feeling there's a little bit of an echo. Okay, so we do have some questions here. Let's see, right now it looks like the local foreclosures and auctions are halted. How can there be foreclosure leads now? I can actually answer that. Guys, they may not be going through the full-blown auction, and by the way, they are in some counties. Hey, but they are actually, the list pendants are still being filed, and we're still getting daily foreclosures in Florida. We typically don't focus on foreclosures outside of Florida because we don't feel like that's the hottest lead. And when we get a client here at Foreclosures Daily, Tiffany, Josh, I think you can agree, when you give somebody services, usually it's one and done. If it doesn't work for them, they won't come back to you. So we give it our best shot, and we tell you the top 6 lead sources that we feel are probate, pre-probate, inheritance, code violation, eviction, and divorce. So we're not really focused on foreclosures outside of Florida. But to answer your question, the list pendants are still being filed. They may not be going all the way through auction right now because of COVID in certain areas, but they can definitely still file the list pendants, which is when you want to be speaking to the homeowner anyways. So I think that was more of a question. Yeah.
One thing with that, guys, one stat in our system is it takes a lead an average of 80 days right now in my system by the time it becomes a lead to the time we put it in contract. That tells you that we are really damn good at follow-up. And the one thing I want to point out about that is a lot of the courthouse data we get from TNG, such as probates, divorce, pre-probates, all that. You guys have to remember that not every, for example, let's say we pull a list that's divorced this week and I get it straight from the courthouse, like they just filed it. Like the chances of them needing to sell immediately is not super high. You need to have a sequence. Most of my lists have a 2-year sequence that is preset and launched in advance. So I have, like day 1 today, I already know when I'm hitting them with all my marketing campaigns for the next 24 months. And each list, especially ones that come from the courthouse, are going to be 3 to 6 months out before you actually land the deal. So I hate it when I see people invest into lists and then they think, oh my gosh, I didn't get a deal in the first 30 or 60 days. And they think it's just supposed to perform like that. That's not how it works. I mean, sellers, for example, in the seller psychology of a foreclosure, they hit the courthouse in my state at 120 days. Most of the time, the psychology behind it is month 1 and 2, they're still in denial. They're still in, hey, we just hit the courthouse. I think I'm still going to get out of this. I'm going to catch my bills out. I'm going to figure my life out. A week or a month 4 or 5, they're starting to get super angry and upset and start to get into an acceptance phase because it takes some time. By the time they get to like month 5 and 6, sometimes they're too late. They're too late. They're going to have to go get short saled or something like that. But they finally come to an acceptance that they need to sell. So there's psychology behind all of these different distressed lists. And so don't think that just because you pull a list that you should be getting a deal off it within the first 60 days.
I can't tell you how many times people will make a decision in the first 2 weeks, Tiffany, when they use a list. They'll be like, I mailed it and I didn't, I called it and I worked on it for 2 weeks, nothing happened, so I stopped. I'm like, oh my God. Really?
Yeah, so we recycle our list. We've been using the same list, like the list we pulled back in 2017 and 2018. We're still landing deals today from those lists because I have a 2-year marketing sequence for all of my lists once I pull them.
Yeah, Tiffany, I had a guy not use his program for a year because he got some sidetracked in his life, and he says, I know it's too late to use it now. I said, absolutely not. He marketed to his year-old probate list and he got like 6-7 deals right off the cusp. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. So the next question is 6% commission on acquisitions or on profits?
So I'll give you an example. Let's say we get a house, we put it in contract for 50 grand, and then we assign it to a wholesaler or a rehabber for 60, and the company makes 10 grand. It's 6% on that 10 grand.
Okay. Can you share the script?
Yeah, if you guys want to.
I think it'd be best if they email heelshomes@gmail.com.
That's heelshomes@gmail.com.
I'll write it right here.
Make the subject script. Just say script in all caps.
Okay, you got that, guys? Make the subject scripts. heelshomes@gmail.com. Thanks, guys. This is the now. When you guys first showed the script, it immediately went to talking about a partner reached out. The initial script, why do you say my partner reached out to you and you're following up?
Yep. So we have to understand that if someone comes into our system as a lead, we've already touched them through some sort of marketing sequence.
Okay.
So that means that they basically raise their hand saying, hey, I'm interested in selling my house. They come into our system, and then we call them and say, hey, my partner had reached out. I'm just following up to see if you had any interest in selling now or in the near future.
Okay, awesome. And that kind of, to me, that's like the curiosity killed the cat type of deal, because even if you don't know the partner reached out, you might be like, hey, I don't remember anybody reaching out to me. Kind of strikes up the conversation of like,
Exactly.
It stops them dead in their tracks, because it did me when I saw it. It stopped me dead in my tracks. And this person felt the same way. It was like, why did you do that? And that's a good thing, because they're probably wondering the same thing. Your partner? I don't remember talking to your partner. So that's good. I like that. Jay just says, I got so many leads before, but everybody's asking retail price.
Yeah, I mean, I would.
So here's the deal. One thing I say to our team all the time is motivation trumps price. Okay. And what you really need to focus on is making sure, one, that you're setting the right expectations, relieving that fear, that pressure, or that salesy feeling that you have. And then really focusing on building such a great relationship with someone that they're able to be open about the real reason they're selling. If you're getting downsized, as I use that's my favorite example. That is just face value. That's not really why they're selling. There's a reason why they're downsizing. It's going to be because of they can't afford the property, or it's going to be because of they can't physically move throughout the property, right? Or maybe there's an emotional reason, like they're downsizing because maybe they lost a loved one in the house, right? So they need to get out of there so that they can just leave it behind them, right? So we need to dive deeper into what that motivation is and know that if the motivation is high enough, the price is 100% negotiable.
Okay. What is your target assignment fee, and are you getting that as an average?
That's a great question. Our standard is 10,000 minimum. And what is it's like 8,500?
So when we go to make an offer, our goal is to make it a $10,000 assignment. In 2021. So 2020, our average wholesale was 8,500, and our average rehab profit was 33 grand. We rehabbed about 62% of our deals, and about 38% was wholesales in 2020.
Where is the link for your program?
If you want to, I don't have it on here. So if you guys want to email me at heelshomes@gmail.com, and in the subject line, just shoot me and say training link, and I'll put it in. I'll reply back with the link.
Okay. Is your business local to Columbus, or do you operate in other markets?
So we are deep into Columbus. We only do rehab. Like when we do our rehabs, we only rehab in Columbus and wholesale. And then we're also virtual in Kansas City. One of the mistakes we made over time back about 2 years ago is, everyone in the industry thinks it's sexy to go virtually in all these cities. I'm a big, I probably blew like $250,000 in marketing in going wide in cities. And I don't believe in that anymore, because you're asking your team to be experts in so many different cities that you can't go dig deep. So I'm a big believer that you go deep into your own market and then maybe launch the next one. But if you're I always say, if you're in a city with a population of 800 to 1 million or more, there's $1 million+ to be made hands down before you move on to the next market for sure.
Okay. What are the 4 fundamentals?
That's a great question. So setting expectations, we went a lot into that. The 4 fundamentals are setting expectations, diving deep into motivation, uncovering roadblocks, and then how we handle resistance in our sales calls.
Can you say that one more time, Josh? Because there's a lot of people writing stuff down.
Yep. So the 4 fundamentals are setting expectations, diving deep into motivation, uncovering the roadblocks, and how we handle resistance in our sales calls.
Okay. What kind of marketing do you do? Ringless voicemail, SMS, CC, and PPC? That's so funny because we talked about this before the call, Tiff, that y'all's people are probably gonna, want to know these questions.
So we are huge on cold calling, SMS, and RVM. We do also do Facebook ads. We do not do PPC or direct mail right now.
Okay. How do you handle the assignment clause on your purchase agreement when a seller is not happy with that?
So in the state of Ohio, and I think this is state by state, so you need to look, ask your attorney, but the contracts in the state of Ohio don't even need the assignable. Now ours does, but it doesn't need the assignable language. Every contract in the state of Ohio is assignable.
Yep. So what we'll do is to overcome that objection, if someone says, hey, what is this? What is this clause? We'll just explain to them that we have several different entities, and depending upon what our exit strategy is, whether that's keep it as a rental or fix and flip it, we're going to put it in a different LLC depending upon what we choose to do with it.
What is a good conversion rate, phone calls versus converting a lead to a lead?
So that one's tough. What we do is we look at the number of quality conversations. And what we've seen is if we have 6 quality conversations, we're signing a deal. 6 quality conversations will lead to 3 offers, which will lead to a deal. Now, I'm telling you, that's not average, okay?
Yeah.
What's more likely to happen in the industry overall is somewhere around 20 to 25 offers is a deal. What we've gotten really good at is training on a daily basis and being masters at those 4 fundamentals. And that's what's allowed us to close at such a high level.
How many wholesale deals and rehabs did you do in 2020?
I think we did, it was exactly like 100 deals, I think, wasn't it? It was 100 deals exactly in 2020.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was from a transaction perspective, it's a lot higher than that. But from like rehabs and wholesales, it was around like 100.
Okay. What do you define as a quality conversion? Or I'm sorry, what do you define as a quality conversation?
So that script that we went through, that 6-step process, a quality conversation is taking a seller from step 1 all the way through step 6. Now, what we've gotten really good at is making sure that we're able to disqualify people who are not ready to make a decision. We are only spending our time with people who are willing and able to make a decision today. If you're not ready to say yes or no today, we're exiting the call and we're scheduling a follow-up.
What is your ideal motivated seller avatar?
Ooh, that one's tough. I think what I would say is just someone who's ready to make a decision. And then from there, we're gonna dive into like that pain point. It's really got to be one of those categories that I identified, right? Is the property affecting them physically, financially, spiritually, emotionally? Is it affecting how they spend their time? A relationship with someone else, right? Something along those lines. That's really what we're trying to find out.
How does your team or company structure and roles look like?
So just so you know, I'm the CEO. I'm the one that originally started the company. Josh is now my COO. He handles managing the sales team and he oversees project management for the construction side. We have Elena, who's an operations coordinator. She handles all of our transactions and she also does project management. So she coordinates all the vendors for our projects, such as kitchens, cleaning, staging, etc. And then we have 3 salespeople. And then we actually outsource to external dispo manager in Columbus and a dispo manager in Kansas City. And then we have a ton of VAs that we outsource and work with as well.
Okay, delegate your minimum wage tasks, guys. We talk about that all the time.
There isn't anyone on my team that is not producing revenue for us. Even Elena's role has an aspect to her job that's revenue producing.
I think you pretty much already answered this, but I have to ask, if somebody asked, but do you do cold calling or do you just market by direct mail?
I don't do any direct mail. I do have cold callers, yes.
Okay. How do you know which properties to rehab and which ones to wholesale out?
Great question. So we have very strict criteria based on very tough lessons that we learned the hard way. So we will only take down a renovation if the house was built in 1940 or it's newer. And we want to make sure that we don't have to gut this thing to the studs and rewire the whole place and do a full gut job. As long as it's not a full gut job and it's a newer property, then we'll take that on.
Okay. How do you hire and pay a person to show the home and or take videos and photos if you are virtual?
So you can have photo runners, and we have like an instruction sheet of how to train them on the role. They have to take up to 100 to 150 photos, and we have a one-page inspection sheet we train them on. And it flows between markets. You typically can find someone that does it anywhere between $50 and $100 typically. And every big city for sure has people that do that. You can find them in Facebook groups and just say, hey, is anyone in here? Someone that's able to walk through, get photos, and doing a quick inspection for one of my wholesale deals.
That's a great idea, Tiffany. I talk about that all the time, is to reach out to your wholesaling groups, you know, wholesaling houses full-time, wholesaling houses elite. There's so many wholesaling groups out there that are free. Guys, you can pretty much get anything you need off of them. If you have a question, ask them, and tons of people will come back with answers. I've had people go on there and ask contracts, and then next thing you know, they're getting contracts in 5 minutes, 15 contracts in their inbox, you know? How many VAs do you currently have?
I don't know off the top of my head, but several.
Okay.
I have a project manager VA who actually manages out VAs for me.
Okay. Is your staff employees or independent contractors?
Employees.
Okay. Have you encountered any roadblocks in a hot market as far as people wanting retail price? And if that's the case, do you just tell them they're not a good fit for you?
No, so we, if they truly want retail and they're not someone that's highly motivated, we refer them to an agent. We work with we work with an agent in Kansas City and an agent in Columbus. We actually work with an agent team in Columbus. So the team lead gets 25% of our referral, and then we get 25%. So let's just say that our company made $1,000 and that 25%, our acquisition manager who refers it to the agent gets 20% of whatever we make.
And the only way that we're able to do that is that I have my real estate license. So that's how we're able to do those referrals.
Okay, because I think you answered the next question, which was what's your team's compensation, but that's pretty much what you just answered. Now, I have a question on here that I'm going to ask in a different way to get the answer, because it's really long and stuff. But basically what they're saying is they were looking to find out if this is, are you guys offering to work with these investors that are on this call right now? Are you offering to team up? What are you offering today?
So our 4-week live coaching group is virtual. It's $9.97. It starts the first Thursday of every month. You get a Google Drive access with tons of our docs, all of our meeting agendas, scripts, all of our marketing systems, our SMS content. We literally give as much as we can away in that. And it's really about the foundation. What does our CRM look like? What do our flows look in our marketing systems, our script, our processes? How do we find buyers? How do we market to them? And if you join in the middle of the month, for example, last week was week 1 of February, no problem. You need to watch the recording from week 1 and you can jump into week 2 this week on Thursday. I can also, no problem, I'll do it for you guys on the webinar. I can also just go ahead and add you into this month and next month so you can get 2 rounds of it. And then you get access to the recordings for every past group and future group, because anytime I optimize a new system, then you also get access to the recording. But I mean, we give, like, again, all of our SMS content, our nurture campaigns, how do we reply to SMS? We give it all out in that program.
Does your training have any ongoing support or no?
We have a 2-day workshop that most people from the virtual group come to. It's in our office. You get to see our setup, meet our team, all that. We actually just finished one today. And then we're actually getting ready to go out to dinner with the whole class right now. And then after that, the next thing is we do have a quarterly group that you have to qualify for. And it's not one-on-one coaching. We put about 5 to 10 people in it. And we train your sales team for you. We train your staff. And it's a lot more intense coaching. But that's something that you'd have to qualify for. And I'm happy to talk to anyone that's open to that, but that is for someone who's already doing deals and not for someone who hasn't done a deal yet.
One thing I want to point out is that virtual 4-week training, that's done live. So you're able to bring your questions and get them answered in that Zoom call.
I can't tell you how many clients I've talked to that you sent to me, Tiffany and Josh, that I think that they said they spent the weekend with you. Is that true?
That's our 2-day workshop that we're actually doing right now in our office. It's normally Monday, Tuesday now. It used to be on the weekends. I do want to point out that the 4-week live group, if you're new and have never done a deal, we definitely do not cover like how to get a contract signed and like the basics of getting a deal done. It's more complex. We talk about our marketing flows, our CRM. So it's already assumed that you've probably done a couple of deals and know how to at least get a transaction done with the title company.
Well, what I was going to say is the people that talked to me that did the weekend class with you, they said every one of them was like, Angie, I can't believe it. Josh and Tiffany are awesome. Tiffany has such high octane from morning till night. They said that she packs so much training from the time she gets up to the time she goes to sleep. They said that it was the best weekend of my life. He said, she changed my life. That's what all of them are saying. Like, I can't believe the knowledge that she dropped and they dropped in such a short amount of time. They're like, it's just a life-changing experience when you spend time with her. That's what they said.
Awesome. Thanks, Tandy. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for sharing the feedback.
No problem. What's a good monthly budget for a new investor?
So look, guys, if you're new, I can't tell you what a good budget is because I don't know your situation, but I can tell you that it took me 6 months to find my first deal. And after I started figuring things out and we got our sales process down a little bit, we did about almost 40 deals our first year off of primarily one small list, and we door knocked them. We would skip trace, like for example, the foreclosures list typically only had like 40 people on it a week at the time in my whole city. And I would door knock them. I would call them individually from my cell phone because I didn't know how to even function a dialer or anything at that time. So at the end of the day, though, as you start to scale, you should start spending about 14 to 19% of your projected revenue. So like if I want to make 100,000 this month, I should be spending 15 to 20 grand essentially to make 100 grand. That makes sense?
On marketing and leads and stuff? What do you mean, like that?
Yeah, so that includes all of my lists, skip tracing, cold calling, SMS, VAs, anything that supports marketing.
Okay, now guys, they have to go. So we're gonna answer these last 3 questions. Anything lingering in anybody's mind? I mean, do they just reach out to your Facebook group, or like did they email you, or how do they reach you? Like, what do they do?
Yeah, go ahead and follow us on Facebook or Instagram and just DM us if you have further questions. But if you can and you really do want to join the coaching group, I highly recommend just emailing that email and put training in the thing. And I'm happy to just send you a link to go ahead and join the live training so you can ask me questions on that.
Okay, so guys, 3 things here that they said during the call. 1, just a reminder, if you want the scripts, email them and say scripts in the subject line. If you want the link for the training, email them and say link, right?
Yep.
Was there anything else I'm missing?
Nope, I'll get to them all by the end of day tomorrow, hopefully.
Jay says he's been on many trainings and this is just phenomenal. Just listening to you guys. Do you hire GCs or independent contractors for your rehab, and where do you find them?
Yep.
So write this down. I'm going to give you one short piece of advice on how we found our best GC that we use. When you go to dispo your deals, whether it's you or your dispo manager, right? Because when you go to market it to buyers, a lot of them might want to bring someone from their contractor with them to walk the property and get them a quote. So one of our buyers walked through with his GC or sent his GC to walk the property to give him a quote. And we got his phone number and stole him as a GC.
That's awesome.
We didn't steal him.
He still works for the same guy, right?
Yeah.
But it's a great way to just find contractors who are already doing work for some of our biggest buyers.
Awesome. Hey, just so you know, how I know everybody loved you is you started with 140 some people and you ended with 140 some people. That means
Awesome.
You kept every person hanging on to the bitter end. What platform do you use for SMS?
I use Batch, and I highly recommend them. Use my code, and you get like a couple hundred texts for free or something. And the code is all caps Tiffany. I'm good friends with the ownership over there, and they're just they're more than an SMS platform, guys. They have a dialer now. I mean, they're great. Great system, great way to manage your data, all that.
Batch skip tracing is who she means. That's batch skip tracing.
Yeah, batch skip tracing.
When does the training start, Jay says?
So again, we already started this month. So week 1 was last Thursday. So I'm happy to join you into it tomorrow if you want to watch last Thursday's recording before this Thursday, because this week is week 2 of this month. And then anyone on this that joins this month, I'm happy to put you in next month as well, since you're joining mid-month essentially.
Okay, last but not least, do you use Launch Control for texting or a different platform?
I use Batch for texting.
That's what I thought. That's what you just said. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time out. And I know your students are just waiting eagerly to get over and eat dinner with you guys. So we really appreciate you. And we hope to see you on again next year. Have a great evening.
Awesome. Thanks, Tangi.
Thanks, guys. Bye. Okay, guys, this concludes our training, and we look forward to having you on next month. Again, just follow us on YouTube, Foreclosures Daily on YouTube, and you'll see any past trainings on there as well. If you'd like to see my training, you can go to Innovative Investors Webinar and watch my hour-and-a-half long training on the do's and don'ts of marketing and unique marketing techniques. Have a good evening, guys. Thanks. Oh, and don't forget, we're doing a buy one, get one free on the list, the discounted rate by Friday. So anybody purchases list by Friday, you do get a free county. Thanks and have a great evening.